she ventured. "The same." Chiara nodded, staring at the drops of cafe squeezing out of the machine. As she turned to hand over the cup and the pastry on a plate, she greeted Arturo, now pushing open the glass door. "Buongiorno, Arturo. Bentornato. Welcome back. Caffè?" "Sì, grazie." Arturo nodded at Luciano, but Luciano was blowing into his diminutive cup and didn't notice. Chiara turned back to the grinder and called over her shoulder, "How was France?" Arturo pushed his overlarge glasses up onto his nose and said, "Fine. It was fine. Esme's parents had all the relatives to work the vines, so not too much strain this year." Chiara nodded, setting Arturo's cafe in front of him before walking around the counter to collect the box of pastries from the driver in the three-wheeled Ape. Arturo said, "I can't believe I missed all the action. I knew we shouldn't have left the morning of the festival. I told Esme, but she insisted that her parents needed the help." Arturo grumbled. "Why they couldn't wait a few days, I can't say. And not one plate of pasta in 2 weeks. He stirred sugar into his cafe and went on looking from Luciano to Chiara, who unpacked the delivery box, setting the pastries on doilies in the display case. "So, you two are there? At the fire?" They shook their heads. Chiara said, "Edo was, though." As if on cue, Eduardo opened the door that led to their upstairs apartment. He smiled and said, "Buongiorno a tutti." He slid open a drawer to whisk out an apron, winding it trimly around his hips. Chiara noted, "You're up early. I thought you wouldn't be on until the morning rush." Edo nodded. "I FaceTimed with Trevor before he had to go to work this morning, and since I was up—" He shot a glance at Luciano. Had word of his boyfriend found its way to his former teacher? Luciano gazed at the wall lined with bottles of liquor. "Trevor. Oh, yes, that British man that helped out at the fire. Aren't we all glad he was here?" He smiled knowingly at Edo. Edo's laugh rang out into the bar that was already warming up with the day. "How nice to be amused so early in the morning," Fabrizio said as he walked into Bar Birbo, a newspaper tucked under his elbow. He leaned over the counter and kissed Chiara's cheek. "Buongiorno, amore mio." Luciano and Edo winked at each other over their cups, and Arturo grinned. Clearly, he'd already heard that Chiara had started dating Fabrizio. This good gossip made up for the rather boring discovery that Fabrizio worked as a writer in Bologna, rather than as the covert operator or government plant his mysterious behavior had suggested. Arturo waited until Edo had started sipping his own espresso before prodding, "Edo, you were there." Edo answered, "The fire? I was." Arturo said, "Oh, that's right." His face registered sudden awareness, and he quickly changed the subject. Leaning across the counter, he asked Chiara, "Is it true about Stella? She really had an affair with Vale?" Chiara nodded, wiping up spilt sugar from the counter. Arturo laughed. "Dante must have been furious. Mr. Mayor waltzing through town so important while his wife sleeps with the town handyman." Seeing Chiara's discomfort with the conversation, she and Stella had been childhood friends after all, Fabrizio turned to Luciano. Shaking out his newspaper, he asked, "Any news on Fatima?" Luciano shook his head. "No, each of us thinks we see movement, but it's too easy to doubt ourselves. Our eyes see what they want to see." Fabrizio cocked his head and smiled at Chiara. "Isn't that the truth?" He flattened his paper and said, "For years I worked the city beat for Corriere di Bologna. Smoke inhalation is dangerous, but people do recover. That hope is what sustains me." Chiara and Edo, unbeknown to each other, whispered twin and fleeting prayers to the Madonna to intercede and keep Luciano from drinking again when hope flagged. Arturo shifted his weight impatiently. He turned to check for new arrivals who might have more news. Would anybody tell him about Massimo?